Good morning, Region 8 right at 6:30 on this Tuesday morning, August 13th. I'm Josh Harbison.
And I'm Amanda Hanson. Thanks for starting your morning with us. We have several stories we're working for you on this half hour. More details will be released today about the autopsy on Sydney Randall.
Much more on that story in a second. Plus, a baseball fan died at an Atlanta Braves game yesterday.
This is some of the damage you see here. I mean, look at where this villa has just sunk in from where the ground had shifted from the sinkhole. And reports are saying that there was an estimate number of about 35 people inside this building.
Thank you, Justin. We have some breaking news at 6:51 this morning, all into the Region 8 newsroom. This story is out of Alabama, where a UPS plane crashed while on approach to the Birmingham airport this morning. It happened just around 5 o'clock. This is a picture that we are getting from WBRC in Birmingham. Take a look at your screen. These are some images. According to a spokeswoman for the airport, the plane had 2 pilots on board, but it went down on the outskirts of the airport.
Thanks, Justin. Arkansas State Police are expected to release more information today from the autopsy of Walnut Ridge teen Sydney Randall. A partial look at what was in the report was released yesterday. According to the case file, the Walnut Ridge teen died of blunt force trauma to the head. Randall's body was found exactly 10 weeks after she went missing. A fisherman discovered her body along the Black River near the old Davidsonville State Park boat ramp. Randall's stepfather, John Cornell, was the main suspect in her disappearance. He was found 2 days after Sydney was last seen with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
A suspected murderer is on his way back to Region 8 this morning. According to Bob Clark with the U.S. Marshals Service, this man, Tavarius Green, was arrested near Elkhart, that's in Indiana. He was wanted for the July 7th murder of Charles Goodwin in Blytheville. Clark says Green was with 2 other people when he was arrested, and he also had several firearms. That includes an AK-47.
A Paragould man is in jail facing a $100,000 bond after pulling a knife on a hospital worker. 27-year-old Adam Conrad is facing aggravated assault charges. According to Paragould police, he was at the AMMC emergency room when he became uncooperative. Nurses say Conrad said that he was in trouble and was, quote, a trained killer. That's when police documents say that the man pulled out a knife that was hidden below his belt from his, quote, rectal area.
6:33 this morning, an Imboden man is in jail awaiting a bond hearing after threatening 2 people with a shotgun, according to police. Lawrence County Sheriff Jody Dotson says Kenneth Hutton was arrested this weekend. Dotson says Hutton pulled out the gun to one of the victim's head and said he would put a bullet between her eyes. Now he's charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. We'll track the story.
Thanks, Justin. We begin with developing news. Crittenden County officials confirmed that a teenager turned himself in after allegedly shooting his foster father. The incident happened yesterday near Earl.
The foster parent was shot 3 times and evacuated by air ambulance to the Regional Medical Center. Raycom News Network's Janice Broach has more.
We was out there picking peas and we heard a shot.
All right, still to come this morning, we're tracking several stories right now. Here's a look at some of them. According to Bob Clark with the U.S. Marshals Service, Tavarius Green is headed back to Arkansas. Green was arrested near Elkhart, that's in Indiana. He was wanted for the murder of Charles Goodwin in Blytheville in early July. And White County farmers fear flooding will destroy their land, and one farmer says he stands to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in crops.
In other news, Boston police investigate Aaron Hernandez's fiancee. Police say she could have helped Hernandez hide the pistol that killed Odin Lloyd. And Asiana Airline decided to pay passengers on that flight that crashed last month. The money is separate from payments for medical bills. Details on these stories are coming up. Thanks, Justin. Here's a couple of stories that caught our eye this morning. A Chinese traditional medicine professor has built an enormous structure on top of his apartment. Take a look at this rooftop retreat. It's covered by fake rocks, trees, and bushes, and local residents. But see, local residents, though, they say it's a safety hazard.
Oh, well, it could be. I mean,
yeah.
For years, residents have complained to building management and beyond that they've just basically gotten nowhere. They say that there are cracks forming in the building, probably from all that weight, I would imagine. No word on if the building will be torn down or not, but it looks cool.
It looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was like a garden, like, tomato plant.
Yeah,
like
me too. Kinda.
All right, look at this video. Groups hurried to flush the competition at this year's outhouse races. Did not even know they had this. at the Iowa State Fair. The vehicles all have to be repurposed outhouses. Under the rules, they must contain a seat. 3 people push while 1 person sits inside.
Oh, the person jumps out, and I don't know if you saw them. They were doing various tasks, including wiping their behinds on those chocolate-covered toilet seats. But guess what? The winner gets $300 and the coveted golden toilet seat. The golden toilet seat. I mean, if you want to feel accomplished, you want to get the golden toilet seat.
How can you follow up a story like that without heading to the Mr. Food Test Kitchen board? Another vote we're tracking this morning over in Mark Tree. Voters will go back to the polls on September 3rd to vote for a new mayor. The top 2 vote getters will be in a runoff 3 weeks from now. Dixon Chandler and Mary Ann Arnold, they easily got the most votes. They will square off in the contest in September. Continuing coverage this morning, Jonesboro police are on the hunt for a man they say threatened to shoot an older woman in the head. The victim told police a man knocked on her door at Forest Hill Road Monday night. When she opened up, she says the man forced himself in and pointed a gun at her. That's when she says the man told her, quote, to quit screaming or he would blow her head off. And the crook made off with her purse and 2 cordless phones before taking off in a white car. If you have any information about this, call Crime Stoppers at 935-STOP. Jonesboro police are also on the lookout for 2 people who broke into the Dollar General store on Southwest Drive. That happened in Valley View. The crime happened a couple months ago, but now police have surveillance video to aid the search effort. Take a look at your screen. The criminals managed to get a few track phones and some t-shirts, but the most expensive item was the window they broke out to get into the building. If you have any information that may help solve this crime, call police at 935-STOP. You can give that tip anonymously. The investigation into the death of Sydney Randall is now officially closed. This week, Arkansas State Police released a 50-page case file showing the teen died of blunt force trauma to the head. It was also revealed through her stepfather's autopsy there were indications of sexual abuse, so police concluded it was John Cornell, Sydney's stepfather, who killed her. Stealing copper could cost a thief their life. That's according to Entergy Arkansas. They've issued a warning hoping to deter thieves. Entergy says 2 people in Arkansas died while trying to steal copper wire, and one line supervisor says those thefts can leave the power grid unstable and lead to repairs that will be passed along to the customer. Recent thefts have led to repair costs of up to $1 million. All new overnight, we learned that the 16-year-old California girl kidnapped by a family friend went online and answered questions about what happened on a social media site. Hannah Anderson went on a social media site a couple of days after her rescue and talked about what happened when James DiMaggio, this man, abducted her. Anderson said DiMaggio said he'd kill her if she tried to escape. She also said he, quote, got what he deserved when he was shot and killed by FBI agents. Anderson also talked about how she's coping with the loss of her mother and her little brother. This morning in developing news, a hostage situation in Louisiana lasts nearly 12 hours before police were forced to end it. And it wasn't the ending they were hoping for. Andrew Spencer has more.
Police set a midnight deadline to move in.
His indication was that he was through. He was going to kill a hostage.
Within 15 minutes, police made the decision and moved in with a SWAT team. But the man had a handgun trained on the 2 remaining hostages.
Shot both of them, upper body shots, and as we moved in.
Police tried to be hopeful, saying at least one of the victims showed a pulse as the 2 were taken to hospitals. The ordeal started just after noon on Tuesday when a gunman walked into this bank in the small town of St. Joseph, a town of just 1,200 people in northeastern Louisiana. Based on what police found in the man's apartment, they say robbery was never his intent.
Written notes, plan. He actually had a book for negotiation, exactly how those negotiations would take place, questions that he would be asked, things that they would be expecting of him.
Police say the suspect, 20-year-old Fuad Abdo Ahmed, was looking to make a statement. Born in California and the child of Yemeni immigrants, he moved to northeastern Louisiana with his family after his father was killed about 12 years ago. Police say his demands were strange, and they described him as a schizophrenic.
He had voices in his head. Of course, one of the demands was he wanted to have this device that was implanted in his head removed.
It was clear to police that negotiations were no longer possible.
Was hanging up on the negotiators. He was becoming kind of complacent, not listening.
So they had to move in, they say, killing the gunman. but not able to keep the other 2 hostages from being shot. Andrew Spencer for Good Morning Region 8.
Another story we're tracking this morning. It could take 3 weeks before more details are released about what led to the death of a baseball fan in Atlanta. According to the Fulton County Medical Examiner, this man, 30-year-old Ronald Homer, died from injuries suffered when he fell 65 feet onto a parking lot Monday. Results from a toxicology test will be available in about 3 weeks. Police say the fall appears to be an accident and no one was standing near Homer at the time. Police in Connecticut have ended their search of a pond looking for the gun that killed Odin Lloyd. Divers spent 7 days going through the water looking for that gun, which allegedly belonged to Aaron Hernandez of the NFL in New England Patriots. That means officers still don't have the murder weapon in the case, but police say they will continue to look for it. Also, another story we're tracking this morning is out of overseas. U.S. officials have confirmed that 4 al-Qaeda terrorists were killed by a drone strike over the weekend. That information being released. Those militants were part of a group thought to be targeting the American embassy in Yemen recently, but officials also said they were not able to get al-Qaeda's top bomb maker, who was also a target for the strikes. In more overseas news, Egyptian security forces are in the process of clearing out 2 camps of protesters in the capital of Cairo. A few hours ago, some of those protesters were stacking stones. According to reports from those protesters, at least 25 people were killed and dozens more hurt when troops moved in with armored cars, also with bulldozers. Egyptian state media reports 1 policeman was killed in the violence, and those protesters were there to support the country's ousted president. Also, just about an hour ago, we learned North and South Korea reached an agreement to reopen the Inner Korean Kaesong Industrial Complex. That complex had been closed since earlier in the year after threats of war from the north. The story will continue to monitor. FEMA and the Arkansas Economic Development Commission gave Peach Orchard a grant, and it's being used to safeguard the town against severe weather by providing its first community storm shelter. It's the General Assistance and Innovative Project grant intended for a tornado-safe shelter plus an emergency siren. Mayor Diane Neal applied for the grant after she noticed many people didn't have a storm cellar, and she says the work is not over and they have a deadline to meet.
Still have to connect power. We have to get the siren placed, and we're also going to build a sidewalk that'll be covered from the community center that's right here.
Now, an electrician is still in the process, and they are still needed as the November 13th deadline approaches. Neal thanks an anonymous party for generously donating the tornado siren's utility pole. And also happening later today, a few hours from now, E911 of Jonesboro and the Jonesboro Police Department and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Arkansas, they are all holding a crisis symposium. And I'm Josh Harbison.
And I'm Amanda Hanson. Definitely does not feel like August. Well, here's a look at some stories we're working on this morning. Investigators look for the black box from that deadly plane crash in Alabama.
We'll have more on that. Plus, the soldier convicted of leaking classified documents has his say in court. You're going to hear what he has to say.
And controversy brews at one local school about a recent purchase. We'll explain.
That's right, but let's talk about the weather. 6:53, let's get you out the door with the top stories we're tracking on Good Morning Region 8. Today, we could learn more about the death of Sydney Randall. According to a case file, she died of blunt force trauma to the head, and the Arkansas State Police is expected to release more information today from the autopsy of the Walnut Ridge teen. According to Bob Clark with the U.S. Marshal Service, Tavarius Green, this man was arrested in Indiana. He will be sent back to Arkansas. He was wanted for the murder of Charles Goodwin in Blytheville in early July. Today, a special election for the mayor's position will be held in Mark Tree. The winner will fill the unexpired term of Mayor Wayne Nichols, who passed away in May. The polls open today from 7:30 and about 30 minutes from now till 7:30 tonight. And the election will be held at the ASU Newport campus in Mark Tree. That's on Highway 63. In Lawrence County, Sheriff Jody Dotson says Kenneth Hutton was arrested for threatening 2 people with a shotgun. The emboldened man is now in jail. He's awaiting a bond hearing.
We're learning this morning that the kidnapper of Hannah Anderson managed to get at least one shot with a rifle at FBI agents before he was killed. While Anderson was with James DiMaggio, she didn't know that he had killed her mother and little brother until she was actually rescued. And police are now investigating Aaron Hernandez's fiance. They believe she may have hid the pistol that killed Odin Lloyd. An affidavit states that she was seen on security footage leaving Hernandez's home with an object just hours after Lloyd was killed. Police suspect it was a gun. Florida fire officials say the sinkhole that caused damage at this resort that you're seeing right here is about 100 feet wide. When the building began to collapse, people were already outside to safety, but their belongings are still inside. We're unclear if they're actually going to be able to get their belongings at some point. Asiana Airlines has decided to pay all passengers on the failed flight that crashed. Passengers will get $10,000 each. That money is separate from payments for medical bills.